sober thoughts. I know you well, have not forgot. You love your boy, you love him not, but he ain't in your thoughts when you call me. Oh, my sympathy is gone, been on both sides this wrong when you call me. Oh, my heart's way too broke to be broke anymore when you call me. Oh, rush in the night, you're the dangerous kind when you call me. Oh, when you call.
Hello everybody, welcome to this new video. I hope you just enjoyed that intro sequence. This video is somewhat a special video because in this video, for the very first time on this channel, I will be answering a question from a viewer / subscriber, which is incredible because I mean, I'm at about 430 subscribers or so at the moment. My videos usually get less than 100 views, but still we are building a tiny little community at the moment. I've got these comments of people I often see under my videos. I see you and I remember you. For example, Jay or Amy or Dion Cherie, was it? Moonthink, etc. Those are few. I see a few names a lot and they stay in my head. And you oftentimes comment, like I think Jay comments like every single video of mine. Thanks for that. It's just so cool to see that there's a tiny little community, even if it's just that tiny. Something's starting to grow after more than 2.5 years I think I've been doing these videos. And that is just really cool. And in this video, the time has come for the very first time. I have found a question from a viewer which I told them I would answer in a video. So the question that I am answering in this video is from Amy Wong. It's this one right here. Basically, she's asking how I set up my camera, etc. and how I make my videos look, how my videos look. In her perception, good. It of course depends on your opinion, what you think. So in this video I'm going to answer that question by giving you some information on how I make my videos and how I make them look the way they look, how I set up my camera, etc. And I'll try to give you some advice how you can do that to your camera, because pretty much any mirrorless camera or DSLR should be able to do the stuff that I'm going to tell you now. If you're shooting on your phone it's a little more difficult, but yeah, I hope you will find some good advice in this video. So the first thing you want to check are your settings on your camera. Let's start with picture profiles. If you have a mirrorless camera or a DSLR, you should be able to change your picture profiles. Somewhere in your menu there should be something called picture profiles or something like that, where you can change between standard, vivid and all sorts of other things. I personally use my camera in the standard picture profile, that's what you're seeing at the moment, but with contrast set to -5. The rest I just keep how it is. So the reason for pushing down the contrast to -5 is because I'd like to have my original video to be quite low in contrast, especially in the shadows, so that I can remain some detail in there, so that I'm a little more flexible in post. If I want more contrast in the final video, I can always add it in post-production, but if your original video is already really contrasty, then usually you can't save very much. So the second setting that you should definitely check out is your video quality and the frames per second that you're filming in. This will hopefully answer your first question, Amy, because you were wondering about the frames per second. My camera, the Lumix GX80, can go up to 50 frames per second, which basically is double the frames you need for normal fluid video. So this video now is in 25 frames per second. So if I shoot in 50 frames per second, I can slow it down by 50% to get some slow motion. It's not super slow, but it's totally fine in my opinion. This part of the video I'm shooting right now is in 4K with 25 frames per second. On the other hand, when out and about, especially when traveling and I do not really know how I'm going to use the footage after shooting it, I'll just shoot in 50 frames per second because that just gives me the flexibility to slow it down later. But especially in shots like these where I'm talking, I know that I won't slow them down, so I'll just shoot it in 25 frames per second. So what some of you might be asking yourselves now is, why do I shoot this part in 4K if in the end the video is only 1080p anyway? Well, the answer is actually pretty basic. It's just because it looks better than the 1080p straight out of the camera. The full HD from this camera is pretty bad, so I'll shoot in 4K and then export it in full HD, which in the end will look better than just shooting straight in full HD. So that's enough about camera settings. Let's get to the next point, which will support you in getting the most out of your camera. And that is lighting conditions. At the moment I'm shooting in my room, which is completely dark. There's no natural light coming from outside because it's already dark. The only light hitting me is the light from my softbox up there. As the name implies, a softbox is a light with a box around it and a diffuser at the front to make the light nice and soft so that you don't have harsh shadows around here. And that's something you want to check when shooting outdoors as well. So when shooting outdoors, you might want to look for cloudy weather, because clouds are basically a huge diffuser of the sun. Because when shooting in harsh sunlight, you get really strong shadows around the eyes, etc., and it just doesn't look as good as if it be cloudy. Also, I can recommend shooting in golden hour, but I suppose you all know that. I mean, golden hour is sunset or sunrise, it always looks beautiful. So not just by setting your camera correctly, but actually shooting at the right time of day or with the correct lighting conditions, your video can improve massively and you can get more out of your camera. The next point you should consider is actually upgrading stuff, but not the camera. So let's say you've got a camera and you do not plan to upgrade it, but you want to get the most out of the camera, you can upgrade the stuff around the camera, the other stuff that influence how your video looks or how your camera performs, without actually upgrading the camera. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about, for example, lighting. I bought this light maybe 3 months ago or so. I usually shoot in daylight, but now with work it's kind of difficult to catch the daylight, especially in winter. And now I can just shoot at 9:30 in the dark in my room with this light shining on me, which looks pretty good in my opinion, at least. Another thing that you could do is, for example, upgrading your lens. Let's say you are shooting with a kit lens that only goes down to f3.5, you might want to consider to buy a cheap lens that goes down to maybe f1.8 or 1.7. You don't really need to upgrade your camera often enough. Upgrading your lens will go miles further, because it doesn't matter how good your camera is, if you have a crappy lens at the front of it, it won't look good anyway. Even more things apart from the camera which can improve your video quality is, for example, the microphone. I lack one. I really need a microphone. This audio you're hearing is from the onboard mic from my camera, and it is terrible, it's noisy, and it's getting on my nerves, but my camera doesn't have a microphone jack. So yeah, I am planning to upgrade my camera sometime soon to a camera that has a microphone jack, but in this video we're not talking about upgrading your camera, but about the opposite, getting the most out of the camera you have. Another thing that you might want to consider is stabilization. I mean, it's not exactly the cheapest way to get more out of your camera, but for example in the intro sequence I showed in this video, a lot of those shots were shot on a gimbal, which I, by the way, do not own. I borrowed it, so I didn't really have to pay anything to improve the quality of my video. But you saw some of those shots are just so smooth, they are so good, and that is one way to get more out of your camera. That's pretty much it for this week. And if you're wondering what is up with the Scotland series, I'm still in the midst of editing the photos. That's why I'm pushing this video in between the Scotland series, because I can't produce the video if I'm not finished editing the photos yet. And you know how many photos I took. Those were a lot, so give me some time please. Anyway, I hope you found some valuable information in this video. If so, leave a like. And if you want to see more content like this, feel free to subscribe. Every time, every single video, I screw up this part. Alright, let's try this again. If you found some valuable information in this video, leave a like, and if you want to see more content like this, feel free to subscribe, and I hope to see you again next week. Goodbye.